Nice flowers.
All right. I thought I was video. There we go. So Joe, all right. Linda Schindler.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, I'm taking the minutes. I'm trying to record who's here. That's why I said your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi. No, it's fine. Talk. Yeah.
And remember, this meeting is recorded. You can always go back and review things. And I believe that that there's a transcript. It's easy enough to have. So, and Linda is a regular visitor, and I'm trying to include regular visitors in all the communications.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
You'll get the bill for $150 a month.
That's pretty
Good thing I just went back to work, huh?
right.
Well, having been retired for quite a while now, the only thing I have to say about work is I enjoyed it, but it certainly can ruin an otherwise enjoyable day.
Mm,
It certainly can.
Chip will not be here. As far as I know, Jeremy is going to be. He tried to come on 2 hours early.
And I'm assuming no Erica.
Unclear. She may show up, but if she does, she will be quiet
Mhm.
and well. And so if Jeremy shows up, that gives us 4. And we have Chip, Erica, and Miriam. We'll see what happens. Even though there are a lot of items on the agenda, they're mostly informational and we can go through them quickly. If we fail to have a quorum, I would suggest that we still go through the agenda, but not make any decisions, which we cannot do if we don't have a quorum.
Okay. Oh.
And we have somebody named Frederick. Frederick, at some point you will have to identify yourself completely, as this is a public meeting.
Sure, absolutely. Should I do it now?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Frederick, I'm new to the Barre area and just interested in stopping in. And this is a way for me to learn more about the city. And yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Hi, Frederick. Nice to meet you.
How you
It
doing?
Welcome
certainly
to
is.
Barry.
Yes. Frederick, if you would, you can, now that's another question I have. Let me answer it right now. All right. Yes, you can send a private or public message to Phil with your last name for the
Okay.
minutes. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, whoops, there comes Jeremy. So we have 4 of us.
Hopefully you didn't wait too long, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, I was actually been waiting here for the past 2 hours. I didn't have anything else to do, so I figured I'd
Well,
just.
I got
Well-
that email and fell into a total panic. I was like, is it already 7 o'clock?
It's
No,
it
was not.
It's been a long week.
I like the enthusiasm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what it is. I was just over eager.
Such anticipation there, yeah.
Yeah, you know me.
This is the highlight of his month. Come on.
The
Yeah,
least,
I actually
the-
just sort of power down for the rest of the month, and then I come back online for this meeting, and then yeah.
Yeah.
well, next time that you come at 5, at least make the coffee.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, it is 7:03, and even though we do not have a quorum, I'm going to suggest that we proceed, and we know who all 3 of our visitors are. Samantha, you're always welcome to turn on your camera if you want to stick your tongue out at anybody.
I got a new phone and my screen protector is the wrong screen protector, so you wouldn't see much anyway.
It's you know what the whole story is with electronics and computers. Murphy's Law.
Yep.
And here comes Brooke, who is here as staff. So I would suggest no adjustments to the agenda or approval of minutes, because that would be an official action by the body, and since we don't have a quorum, we won't do that. Report of Tess Taylor, and if I keep looking away, I'm obviously looking at the agenda, etc. Tess Taylor is at a meeting of the Board of Civil Authority dealing with abatements to appraisals and taxes. We saw, I hope you all saw, if you didn't, I'll summarize it, a status of survey regarding contacts with the police. Well, Samantha's here. Samantha, do you want to share what you and Chip have been up to or not up to?
So Chip was told by Erica that there was no known encampments currently within city limits. So, but she said that she thought that somebody might be deep in the what is that place called? Oh my God, in the pasture. And I was going to call it Canals Woods, but I know that's not the same thing. That they were deep out in the cow pasture. And so I sent a map to Chip and said, where? The cow pasture is kind of a large area. And so it was kind of unclear where people were at. I don't mind, we don't mind schlepping through the woods if we have a general vicinity of where somebody might be camping. But other than that, we haven't done much because we were told there were no active encampments.
How many surveys have been collected?
I don't know. We haven't gone out to do any. So if there were some that were done other places, like at the shelters or at the warming shelters, that Miriam might have done, or at the Good Sam, anything like that. I'm sure that some have been done, but we didn't venture out into the woods because we were told there was nobody there.
And Miriam has joined us, for which I'm grateful. That means we now have a quorum. Why don't we continue this discussion, and then we'll go back up to minutes and agenda modification. Hi, Miriam.
Hi.
So do you have, your hand is up, so I assume you want to participate.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it was my understanding that we were only surveying homeless people, like not the people in the shelters. We were doing either people outside or people at the overflow and at another way. So
Right, that's what I guess meant. Probably the Good Sam was not maybe a great option for that example.
Well, I attempted to survey at the overflow and I got 2 responses. And I believe Erica surveyed another way and got maybe 1 or 2 more because it's the same group of people. So the question now, I believe, is do we survey people in the shelters as well? Or what are we doing with this information?
Go ahead, Samantha.
Oh, I was just going to ask if Miriam, do you know of any encampments within city limits? Or anyone camping right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are. I mean, I know there are. I don't necessarily know of encampments. I know more of individuals who tend to be out on their own.
Okay.
And I can pretty much guarantee they're not going to answer any surveys.
Okay. Even if it's Chip and I? Not like if we don't take Brooke or the police or anyone?
Nope.
Okay.
Because, I mean, listen, if there's like 12 to 17 people at the overflow, and like 2 of them want to answer the survey, so I mean,
right.
The loners that are like living out in the woods in the dead of winter aren't interested in sharing their experience with police.
What about surveying at community meals?
That, I suppose, would be up to the people who administer the community meals.
Sure, but and I think that's a relatively easy ask. We know where the meals are served, and I can help gather names of the people to contact to discuss. In fact, I'm willing to do the contacting and get back to you with those who would be amenable to that if you want me to.
Is there a specific reason why we'd be avoiding surveying people who are staying at shelters?
Pardon me?
Is there a specific reason why we'd be avoiding surveying people who are at shelters? Like it's a question that we specifically put in the survey too about sort of, location. That seems like a useful population to gauge their feelings well.
I guess it depends. The overwhelming majority now are in hotel rooms, etc. We're not going to survey them because they're in, private, residence. I don't know. What do folks have to say about the possibility of, for example, would Good Samaritan Inn be amenable to us surveying?
I can't speak for Good Samaritan Haven, but I mean, I would be willing to ask the guests if they were interested in filling out surveys.
If you would be willing to do that, we had anticipated that this would be a project of worth, and we're obviously struggling right now to get responses. So let's see what we can do. I certainly, like I said, why don't I reach out to the people who administer the community meals, and I'll report back to everybody, but it's specifically to Miriam and Sam and Jeremy what we're getting for results, and Chip, of course, and you can make arrangements as your time permits. Does that sound like a reasonable approach?
It does sound like a reasonable approach.
Thank you. All right. Okay, let's go back, since we have a quorum, to the beginning of the agenda. We have welcomed and acknowledged our visitors, and also we are glad to see Brooke. And Rebecca just left us. I was going to add her to the agenda if she comes back. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, may we
Steve, I am right here.
Where'd you go? Oh,
Nowhere. I mean, I'm here.
right. And I don't find my shoelaces very well either. I apologize. And what about
Missed your chance.
what about minutes?
I think
Philip.
Frederick had his hand up.
Yes, real quick, because I don't want to disrupt the flow of the agenda. Can someone drop an email in here that I could, like some questions that I'll gain over the course of the meeting, so I can send a little later?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Philip, would you be so kind as to do that? Maybe give him Erica's email and mine also.
I can do that.
And I'll proceed ahead. So, well, why don't we do the minutes first before we go ahead and do that? Everybody received the minutes. I gave a couple of changes to Phil.
No, you didn't.
Pardon?
I didn't receive any changes.
Yeah, you had communication about Rebecca being left off, and we had an exchange about that.
Oh, about who to include when I distribute the minutes. Yeah.
Right. Well,
But
also
not about the minutes proper.
yes, actually, you listed Samantha as staff, and it's Brooke who is staff.
Oh, I just forgot to delete the word staff. Okay.
Yeah. So that's nobody is going to be coming back about that. So may I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Miriam. All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed?
I wrote them, so I'm good with it.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Let's go on to item 6, which is status of requests for porta potties. This will be very brief. I sent the request for porta potties to the council and the city manager, and I got back information as to what the cost would be. And then when the next agenda for a city council meeting did not list porta potty requests, I asked the manager. Manager said, well, we're expecting a proposal from you. Now, I'm not sure that that is what is required legally, but obviously I'm getting the very strong political message. I have not had time to take those numbers and put a proposal together. I'm going to send them out to all of you and see if anybody wants to volunteer. I have a very full plate, and I will see to it one way or the other, either by begging one of you or proceeding along that of getting a proposal to the city council. I don't remember the numbers at all, except that they were it's not a big item, in spite of the fact that the city is looking at severe budget issues. And frankly, we're talking about the money coming out of the current budget, not waiting, of course, till a new budget is passed in May. So I will proceed ahead on that, and if any of you have any comments, suggestions, or anything, either share them here now or send me an email.
I have a question. What are the numbers? Are they like how many people are going to use the porta potties? What we think the porta potties will cost?
No, it's a cost. It's a cost estimate. That's what they're looking for. That's what the manager wants. If we put in 5 porta potties, they cost a certain rental per month. They have a certain cleaning charge per month. It shouldn't take me that long, but
it's going to cost them what it cost them the last time they were out.
I also don't remember it being, it wasn't very expensive, like overall. I think it was only, for some reason, I feel like $1,200 was the amount, somewhere in that range. So it wasn't a ridiculous price at all.
I agree with you, but there's little to be gained by us kicking this around now. The message is clear to the manager. Give me a proposal with numbers, and I will try to see that we can get that done, because I agree.
So numbers would be the cost, right at the cost. Okay.
Yeah.
So is it possible that we could ask them, for like a copy of what they paid? Like, show us your bill, and then we'll base it on that. How about that?
He gave me actual numbers. I have to assemble them, into a total, or a list or something.
Okay.
So
you're going to do that and send that out?
as I said, I'm going to send the numbers around to you all and see who's the first one to get the award for putting that together. And the other thing is, I think what we just want to do, as I'm thinking out loud now, because that email was almost a month ago. It's very easy to say, this is the cost per month of a porta potty, including cleaning. We're requesting a minimum. I'm going to stick it right back on council. A minimum of what? 6?
6 months.
Not 6 porta potties.
Oh, wasn't it 10? Didn't we have 10?
We never had 10 out. We had 5 out last time.
So we're going to go for 6?
And could this at some point maybe be coupled with another budget or justified by another budget? Maybe like if we're going to put one at the cow pasture or Canales Woods or something like that, that it could be roped into like the recreation department's budget? Or if
It's
they're at
not-
some of the parks?
It's not our job to start telling council where in the budget document entries should be made. I would be very resistant to that. The bookkeeping is not our job. I'm skeptical as to whether even providing numbers per month and asking for so many is our job. That we can do. But I would be very opposed to saying, and this is where it goes in your budget and your expense chart. Well, let me go ahead and proceed on that. And
I didn't really mean in terms of like putting it in the budget. I mean, if they're only going to approve 5 for the task force, could those other 3 or 4 be tucked in somebody else's budget in a department that's more suitable? You know what I mean? Like, could the recreation department recognize that they need to be at the parks or things like that? You know, just to increase the number of them throughout the city. That was all.
I have no idea, but that would require us interacting with those bodies. And again, that seems to me a level of complication that I'm not willing to do. We'll say this is how many we want. We certainly can suggest location. In fact, we're an appropriate group to suggest location. But that's as far as I would think we would go with it. And
I don't see any reason why a sentence or two about that couldn't be written into whatever proposal we end up sending.
Sure.
Like we could say, oh, we think we need like another porta potty or 2 at the park, and perhaps that could be budgeted into Parks and Rec. It's, you know, there's no reason not to ask.
I again, if I would support saying and putting it at the park, and in discussion, if we wanted to add, their budget or something, but I would urge us to keep it simple, because we're already being asked to do something that I don't think we needed to be asked, but willing to go that far. But let's put together a draft. Let's come up with the numbers, put together a draft, and then we will comment and edit the draft before we send it.
Sounds good.
Okay. And I'll be asking for help on this as we go along. All right. So, warming shelters. I put this on here being very unclear as to what it is we have to talk about.
I feel like there has been some sort of hope that that Barre Town or Barre City would set up warming shelters, and I don't know that that's happening.
I do know that I do not know of any in Barre City. I do know that there have been warming shelters and overflow overnight shelters at the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, because that's my congregation. That's how I know about it. And Christ Church Episcopal in Montpelier. I'm not aware of any warming shelters currently in Barre City.
And Barre Town does not want to have any conversations at all about the homeless or housing.
I am aware of that because one of the people very frustrated by it is Melissa Bata, who is the organizer for the area for Vermont Interfaith Action. And
Melissa's a friend of mine, and she's heard all the saga about the town of Barre suing me when I wanted to develop low-income housing. So she's quite frustrated.
yes, oh yes, she is, and and you and I both know that she's a friend of each other.
Mm-hmm.
This is Central Vermont.
Yeah. So any Barre Town is not willing to do anything or have these conversations.
As far as I know, and frankly, that conversation, I would think, would start between the mayor of the city of Barre and the chair of the select board of Barrytown. That's a political issue, and they need to talk to each other. Rebecca, you have your hand up. And I wanted to add to the agenda, by the way, the situation with respect to unhoused children who are enrolled in our schools.
Hi. So, I know we're talking about warming shelters, but as of April, can you turn that down? As of April, a lot of the people are going to be exited from motels, and there's no family shelter anywhere between White River Junction and Cott's and Burlington. So I know we have about 120 homeless youths. Some of those are doubled up and some will be in campers, but the majority of them are certainly in hotels. And so I'm wondering, I'm sticking regular shelter into warming shelter. If you'll allow me to do this on the agenda, what we're able to do in Barre for family shelters once we lose the hotels, because there are going to be a lot of kids without anywhere to go.
My understanding is that the budget adjustment bill that's currently under consideration in the legislature, it's the first big thing they do when they come back, extends the hotel housing until June 30th, the end of the fiscal year. That's my understanding. But
I went to I believe
ahead.
that's the ask. I think that's the ask, Steve. But I don't know that that's what's going to happen. Another piece in that is the price we pay for hotels. It's up towards $200 a night, and they want to lower that to $75. So, this is going to play out however it plays out in the State House. But I wouldn't assume anybody's going to be anywhere past April.
But I'm going to say it's not just an ask. It is language that is in the current proposed Budget Adjustment Act.
Which has not been passed. So that's what I
Pardon?
mean, which has not been passed.
No.
Right,
No.
that's what I mean by, right.
But it's
But
but understand that's an omnibus bill.
right.
It's not gonna be amended out on the floor. We'll just have to wait to see how the bill passes. What is more probable than things being carved up and out of that bill right now, because it's fast tracking through the House, would be the governor vetoing the overall adjustment. So we just, who knows?
Right. But regardless of the process, worst case scenario, somewhere between March and April, people are going to be exited from the hotels who've either been in the COVID cohort, right? So that's just the COVID money, as well as heavy weather exemption. They'll figure out and they'll look at the temperature somewhere between March and April. And then it'll, the 28 days or the 84 days, whether that's still on the table, that will be for more newly homeless people, which the VRAP funds are running out. And so we'll have some more of those folks. And I go to a lot of these meetings and nobody's really quite to the place of being proactive about this yet. And it's coming. And I'm just wondering, what we might be able to talk about, how we might be able to use the auditorium, how we might be able to use the schools. What is it that we might be able to do as a community?
I think that's a very good point. And regardless of whether it's April or June, it's going to be somewhere in there. Miriam, you had your hand up? Apparently not.
I still don't know how to raise my hand, but
I'm having trouble unmuting, but I hear what you're saying, Rebecca, and it's the same question we asked last year and the year before.
And the year before, and the year before.
And unfortunately, that's, they come back, they do their vote and people get kicked out, and hopefully it's warm enough for some of those people to be outside at that point, and we provide them with tents and sleeping bags and food and community and all the resources we possibly can until they can't exist outside anymore and they go somewhere else, or they find family, or they die, or they get put back in the hotels, or some of the landlords who aren't renting to them because they don't want to rent to them decide to rent to them. It's just the same dance season after season after season. We don't have enough housing. The housing that is available isn't getting rented out fast enough, in my opinion. What else can I do? You know, what else can I do? Please tell me and I will do it.
Miriam, what is your title? I'm sorry, are you a board member? All I see is your name.
She is a member of the task force.
Okay.
And by the way,
Barre City community member, obviously.
yes,
Sorry to interrupt.
yes. But we don't distinguish on this body between city and other members. They're all voting members, and there are 7. If you contact me tomorrow, Samantha, or Friday, we will go into my Zoom room and I will show you how to raise your hand. No, it's important because since we don't see your picture, it puts you in the position of interrupting. And I would rather teach you how to do it. So I'm more than happy to do that, since I'm a Zoom creature. Which, by the way, I forgot to give the required little speech at the beginning. This is a public meeting of the city of Barre. All participants, visitors, and others must identify themselves. The meeting is being recorded and is available after it gets posted, as recordings do. The advantage to the recordings is you can play them back at 1.25 or 1.5 faster speed. Philip.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Rebecca, I've been emailing back and forth with you about the before school warming thing.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
That's me.
Thank you.
Yeah, how do you do? I will be having a meeting with members of the church on Friday morning.
Yeah.
To see how we can move forward with that, what the church is willing to do. Okay.
That's thank you for that. And that is fantastic. And I just want to make the point that, you know, in some of our data 2-3 years ago, we had 50 kiddos that were McKinney-Vento, which is the designation. 50 kids by the end of the year. We have 120 at this point. And the situation is getting worse. And of course, I can't imagine this task force is just going to, you know, create a wand and do something. But we do have assets in the city, and these kids are, you know, kind of our renewable resource, right? So to any extent that there's a possibility of either sheltering or summer camps or anything, I just want to throw that out, you know, things that kids can do and be connected to the rest of the community and have food. We have some smaller things, but there are just more and more kids in this category than there have been ever.
I suggest, and somebody may have to goose me on this, but that on our March agenda, we can put this item, which is response of this task force and the city of Barre to anticipated increases in the unhoused population.
Okay, give me a second.
So I do know that Capstone they just wrote a grant to increase the number of scattered emergency sites, which are the family shelter units here in town. So they're adding a handful of those units. They said that they expect that grant to come through probably, you know, April-ish. So I do know that they're adding, like, I think they said 6 units. And 4 students were housed this week, so those will be removed from the list. But so they are working on increasing family shelter units, though.
Great.
Thank you, Samantha.
While we're talking about Capstone,
Oh, wait, if I could just,
sure.
so it's hard for me to participate and take the minutes, so you got to bear with me. So you, Stephen, your thing was to and the next agenda, put a response of the task force to the impending emergency should be an item.
Why don't I put that in the meeting chat right now?
Okay.
Okay.
And then Samantha, what were they were called what? The capstone funded items.
Transitional housing?
That's what it is, but it had a different name. But yeah, okay. Additional housing. Thank you. And then just very quickly back to what I was talking to Rebecca about. There's a lag time between when kids are left by their parents who go to work and when they can get a bus to go to school. So Rebecca and I have been emailing back and forth, and I'm going to talk to people about finding somewhere where those kids can essentially hang out and then either be ushered onto the bus or it could take place at the school. It should help cut down on truancy. And it will also keep them warm.
Yeah, it's very simple. I sent it to you. All it says is response of task force in city to anticipated increases in the homeless population. There's no reason for us to list the reasons for it. And in mentioning Capstone, I attended today the legislative caucus of the Older Vermonters Legislative Caucus, and learned that Capstone does have a transportation program that has started, and I will send you all the link to that because it is a resource that we can advise homeless folks who might be looking for that sort of information in addition to Green Mountain Transit. And I put in here just for your information, but I think it's helpful for us to be aware of legislation that is pending, which would affect the number and conditions of the homeless population. The first is the Omnibus Housing Bill, H719. It is focusing on the provision and construction of new housing by making changes in Act 250 and doing a whole bunch of other things. It's huge. That's what an omnibus bill is. And it's currently before House Energy and Commerce, I think. H616 is an emergency suspension of no cause eviction. It has been submitted by Representative Tom Stevens of Waterbury, who chairs the committee where the bill is going, which means the bill will be heard and will come out. The good news is it would suspend no cause evictions statewide through 2025. The bad news is, and this is my own political reading and nobody else's, that unless the bill gets folded into the omnibus housing bill or some other bill, I think it's at risk of being voted down by the House. And it certainly will not pass the House with a veto-proof majority. So I think as a standalone bill, there is somewhat of a risk. And H132, I would suggest you look at. It is the Homeless Bill of Rights. And without studying it, what I am picking up from it is there are provisions in that bill that might very well compel municipalities to provide services and do things for the homeless, which they are not currently doing. And for all I know, it could include porta potties. that the homeless Bill of Rights is the right to be able to safely and comfortably pee. So I'm going to go back and take a look at it, but the number is there in the agenda, and you may want to do that. Also, I just called to your attention the Vermont Interfaith Action, and I gave you the website. They have a organizing committee dealing with homelessness and housing. I'm on that committee. Vermont Interfaith Action is open to anybody who wants to participate, but especially from an active religious congregation. There are currently 71 congregations that are members. They're always looking for more, and it's a worthwhile organization, in my opinion. The Housing and Homelessness Alliance of Vermont, I know very little about. I am the liaison just appointed from Vermont Interfaith Action to this outfit, and our next meeting is on Tuesday, and then I will hopefully learn more about who and what they are and what they do. Is there any other business to come before the Barre City Homelessness Task Force? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn? You can't leave if not. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, Miriam, okay.
And a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. And Samantha, I'm going to send you my Zoom room right after we get off in case you want to take this tutorial in the next whatever. Okay. Thank
I'll
you.
Google it and let you know. I just can't figure it out on my phone. I do know how to do it on the laptop, but just my phone is, I don't know, doesn't.
Okay, then all you have to do is find the darn icons at the bottom of your screen, and there'll be a reaction icon. And if you press on that, there'll be a raised hand, and you don't need me to show you
Oh.
anything.
Look at that. Why did nobody tell me that? Okay. All right, now I got it.
Samantha, we both just learned that together, and I'm supposed to know this type of stuff. So
I'll tell you, I'm just a font of useful information sometimes.
I don't have to participate in, like, I don't have a real job. That's the perk of not having a real job, is I don't have to do Zoom meetings. So I don't know all this stuff.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks,
for-
everyone. Have a good night.
Night.
Night.